Well, hello YouTube. So, nice after dinner ride. Just going for a country lane bimble up to Seaways. And I've just been watching Calmbiker's latest offering about is 500 enough? And I thought I was in a good position to answer that, having come off part exchange me 1100 for a 500. My answer is, yeah, 500 is more than enough. As I said in Richard's comments section, when I first started riding bikes, 83, I had a C70 which was more than adequate, and I had a CB125 which for the day I thought was pretty good. It would 68, maybe 70 downhill if you were lucky, but it was more than enough. I used to go all over on it commuting to work. And I remember a particular story was a friend of mine called Peter Wilson. He was my crewmate in those days. He bought a CB 500X with a big windjammer fairing on it and all the luggage. You know, that old white fiberglass luggage that you could get. I can't remember the company, but it was very familiar. Anyway, he'd ridden bikes some years before, but he'd never ridden a modern Honda, and he said to me, I'm probably going to need a bit of a refresher before I get this big bike, but I've got to pick it up. Would you go and get it for me? Yeah, I'll go and get it. Well, the chance to ride a 500 was like, wow, you know, really big bike. Up to then, the biggest thing I'd ever ridden was a 125. So I was mad keen to go and get it. And I remember thinking when I was riding it home, God, it's an absolute monster, it's enormous. And here I am today on this 500, and it's like, this is considered what? At best a middle-sized bike. But it'll do 100 miles an hour, which in the 1950s made it a ton-up machine. And it's very nimble, very agile, got really good brakes, does everything really well. And the bonus is it doesn't weigh a ton. I always knew with my NT11 and my Africa Twin, if I ever dropped it, I was never going to pick it up. So in my experience, riding a 500 is a better experience for me personally than all the big bikes I've ever had. And I would also say this: if you're like me and the furthest you go is, you know, a day trip into the Dales and a very, very rare occasion, maybe a couple 100-mile ride, then it's plenty. And as Richard was quick to point out, with bikes, big bikes, costing south of, in some cases, of 15 grand, well, quite frankly, for that money you can have a car. Why would you possibly want a bike? I don't get it. I've been there, I've done it, I got the t-shirt, and my opinion is 500's rock. And one other thing, one of my subscribers, Graham, who lives in New Zealand, he actually pointed out, like he said, you've got your confidence back with this bike. And you're absolutely right, Graham, I have. I'm a lot happier chap. So that's my answer to Calmbiker. Let's continue with the ride. Having had a few minutes to think about it, there is one thing that I would spend money on. Definitely small power bike, 500, yeah, no probs. However, I would spend money on things like quality tyres, quality suspension, quality oils, filters, proper OEM fixtures like I've done with this one. That definitely pays dividends compared to buying a cheaper bike which has got loads of gimmicks on it that don't work. I mean, that a good example of that would be, you know, the Monkey bike. It's a great little bike, but it's not really. I don't think I've never really considered it a serious motorcycling machine. I think this road's closed. No, it's not. Ooh, that's lucky. Just for one horrible moment there, I thought this road was closed. Doing something interesting in these fields. Yeah, definitely buy quality bits and pieces for it. I think that's worthwhile. Makes it more enjoyable. I was looking at a bike this morning, have to say, it really caught my eye, but it wasn't a small capacity. It was one of these Ducati now then, it's the what do they call them? It's not the Multistrada. No, I can't remember, but it looks a little bit like it's got a dirt bike look to it, but it's lighter build, real smart looking machine. I'll try and find either a picture or put the name of it up. And then that was absolutely dripping in quality. The big engine wouldn't have attracted me, but the quality parts on it, such as Ohlins and the like, yeah, that definitely I thought was money well spent. I know the difference in Tetley between buying him and then having the suspension properly serviced. My God, it transformed that bike. It was definitely money. I think money better spent than on a sane exhaust system. Absolutely, no doubt about that. I would much sooner spend money on suspension than exhaust, because let's face it, at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of the speed limits. So what's the point of having 200 brake horsepower bike with crap suspension when you can do a maximum of 70 on it, unless you want to lose your license, of course. Do you know, it's marvellous. I've looked at that bike. It's in Miles Kingsport, and I must have looked at it 3 or 4 times, and I still can't remember. But it's like the scrambler version of a Ducati. Seems to have taken ages to get up here today, but there's been no rush really. Went to my favourite filling station, got some petrol, had a ride down the lane to Kirkburn. And now we're going to have a cup of tea at Seaways. I've thoroughly enjoyed riding my bike. As you can see, I've got the deflector back on, and I saw a little snippet on YouTube about stopping them bouncing around, and it's just down there is a little piece of 3M tape, double-sided, and it works. It's amazing. Yeah. Ooh, E-type. Room for a small one. Absolutely.
Rose Graham on the Mighty CL.